Hey everyone, it's Austin with Ozark Pursuit, and I want to talk about a class of knife that I've never reviewed before. It could be controversial, and I think a lot of people have misconceptions about this knife, and hopefully I'm going to clear some of those up. What do you think about when you see this? Does that scare you? Do you feel like that's more dangerous than any other knife that I have? Do you feel like this is dangerous because it's a butterfly knife? Well, I want to talk about this kind of knife. This is an automatic knife or a switchblade, specifically an OTF or out the front. Are you questioning the legality of the knife? Is this knife more dangerous than this knife? I would say no. So this review may be kind of lengthy, but I feel like it's very important if you're interested in knives. So I was actually able to obtain this knife by doing a straight up trade through Facebook with a gentleman, and it's nice to know in 2019 you can actually trust another individual in the world and be an adult. And we both agreed to ship the knives the same day. We sent each other tracking numbers, and he actually got my ZT-0452CF, which was pretty tough because I did a review on it and I said I would never get rid of it. I did. I didn't feel like I was honestly going to carry it. It's kind of a pocket sword, great material, great product, and he likes it. It's a razor blade. I mean, it's a great knife. So he likes it, he's happy with it, and I got this, and I'm definitely happy with it. Here's some of the packaging. So this is a Microtech UTX-85 or a 231-4. And here's some of the stuff. You got literature, of course, plastic. Kind of looks like a coffin, which is funny. But yeah, and there's some instructions in here about caring for the knife, and you can use compressed air to clean it. This is actually a single action. I think this is called the Halo with a charging handle. It's a lot more powerful, but you can't retract it unless you pull the charging handle. And then here you have what I have, which is a double action OTF knife. This is probably the Ultratech. So the Microtech Ultratech is one of the most popular knives, and this is 85% of the size of an Ultratech. So this is a UTX-85. They also have a 70, which is a little bit smaller. So I actually traded one of my largest knives for one of my smallest knives. But as a collector, I do feel like automatic knives, specifically an OTF, is something that needs to be in your collection, just to have a well-rounded brand. This is Microtech, but just to have well-rounded brands and classes of knives. So you have lockbacks, butterflies, assisted, unassisted. You have axis locks, liner locks. It just rounds the collection out. So let's talk about the company really quick. Tony Marfione is the owner of Microtech, or one of the founders. He made his first knife in 1992, and from what I understand from interviews and things like that, is Tony is a machinist. I mean, that is his craft, and he made tools. He was in the firearm industry, and knives. He still makes tools, I think, from what I understand, and he actually still makes custom knives, Marfione custom knives, which are like $3,000. I'll never have one. I think it's awesome that he's still passionate about it and everything else, but again, I'll never be able to probably even look at one in person. But I regress. So he actually got some attention making a small automatic knife, and people called it the Micro, and people started asking him, saying, hey, do you have that Micro? Do you have that Microtech? And that's kind of how they got the name, according to Tony, from a couple interviews and bios that I read on him. And he started really getting attention and went public in 1994. One of his mentors actually is one of my favorite knife makers. I have two of his knives, Chris Reeve knives. If you are a knife person, you know who Chris Reeve is. He is a person that is second to none. He's won all kinds of crazy awards, and his knives are close to perfection as far as craftsmanship and quality. And he mentored Tony, and Tony is doing very well today. Let's just say that. Okay, so just a quick history on it. Let's look at the knife itself. So overall, this knife is 7.5 inches long. The blade is 3.125. The sharpened edge is a 2.875 inches. The thickness, it's not very thick, 0.13 at the thickest. The weight is pretty impressive. It's under 3 ounces, 2.8 ounces, which is pretty cool. The blade steel is M390. Now, what other knife do I have with M390? The legendary Benchmade 710 has M390 as well. So awesome, edge retention and corrosion resistance. So the combination's great. So I think that's awesome. As far as the sharpness, it is not the sharpest knife I've ever gotten out of the box, and this thing's practically brand new. He bought this for his wife so she can, handle it and see the size. And she liked it, and he bought a purple one, and then this was an extra. So it's like brand new. There's no marks on it. I probably will scratch it up. But it's not the sharpest knife. I think, even the paperwork says they don't really want you to sharpen it, or improper sharpening will void the warranty. Taking this thing apart will void the warranty. And when you're looking at the authenticity of this thing, you have to buy their bits to take it apart. But from what I understand, if you take it apart, you void the warranty altogether anyway. So I think that's a con, that I can't take it apart as easy without his bits. But it also makes it unique and makes you part of the club, I guess, if you want to. There is a glass breaker on the end there. And it's not sharp or obtrusive or anything like that, so I kind of like it. I think you can take it off, but I don't know why you would. It doesn't bother anything. And if you did need something in an emergency, you got a glass breaker, so that's cool. I think I already showed you the serial number, and it's a large pocket clip, which is fine as far as retention goes. There is jimping throughout the knife, just to help with ergonomics. From what I understand, this newer model, this is a 2018, as the date stated on the clip, is rounded off a little bit here, and that makes it a little more ergonomic than the older models, which are just squares. So that's cool. As far as the mechanism, there's a spring in there, and this is double action, which I think is awesome. Again, a lot of people have a misconception about this. In movies and things like that, they show people with knives just like this, double action knives, holding this against people and pressing the button, and it goes right through their flesh and their ribs and everything, and it pierces their heart or their jugular vein. So can that happen with this knife? Let's get this out of the way, because it bothers the hell out of me, to be honest with you. So here we go. I have a single piece of paper. It's just folded in half so I can hold it and it's not right up in the camera. So let's find out. Will this pierce this piece of paper? Will this knife pierce through a person if I hold it against them and hit the button? Because it's an automatic. It's a switchblade. It's dangerous, guys. So will it do it? No. Wait, what? Huh. So it's kind of a built-in safety mechanism. You cannot press the button and pierce an individual or a board or anything like that. Okay? So you just pull it out, and then you can just reset it just like that, and you're back to normal. But this thing will not go through a person. Okay? It just will not do it. So please make note of that. So if you believe that before, the record is set straight. With that being said, once this is deployed and locked in place, I have seen YouTube videos and things like that of people literally hammering these through 2x4s and pulling it out, and the damn thing still works. I don't recommend it, but there are some torture tests on these knives, and it's extremely impressive. It really, really is. So, is this knife more dangerous than this knife? This knife has no spring at all. but I would trust this knife. This is probably my most trustworthy folder I would trust my life with. This thing is a freaking tank. And do you think this switchblade, do you think this OTF is more dangerous than this? I don't know how you can possibly think that, honestly. You know? But I know, from movies and media and things like that, a lot of people have misconceptions about these knives. A lot of people just automatically assume they're illegal, right? So let's get into that. But before I do, a lot of military, police, firefighters, first responders do use these knives. They use them at work and they use them in emergency situations. There are some mechanical components in here, obviously, right? Because it's an automatic knife. There's a spring in there and there's a slide and there's other things going on. So in my head, I feel like I would question the dependability of a mechanical knife like this versus a knife that I would just use my thumb and pop open in an emergency and I know it's rock solid and there's no spring or anything like that to mess with, right? But a lot of first responders, police officers, military do use these, and they can get them at a discounted rate. So if you are in that group, I would recommend going on the Microtech website, registering, and taking advantage of that discount because, in my opinion, you people out there on the front lines do deserve the discount. So I would take advantage of it. Okay, and it's a pretty good discount. It really is. My buddy's a police officer, and he's looking at the blue Ultratech, which is the Leo version, and it's pretty awesome. So, and he's going to get a good price. And like I said, he definitely deserves that because he's the one putting his life on the line. He's the one putting up with all the BS out on the streets, right? So, if you're in that group, get the discount. That's all I got to say. Legality. So, in 1958, there was something put into place called the Federal Switchblade Act. And this stopped the manufacturing, distribution, and sales of switchblades. So in 1958, I guess there was a big issue with switchblades. I don't know what happened, but something happened in 1958. When I think of a switchblade, I think of the movie West Side Story, as strange as that might sound. You have two gangs. You have the Sharks and the Jets, and there's switchblades involved in the movie, and people lose their life to switchblades. And that movie came out in 1961. The Federal Act came out in 1958. I don't know if that's a coincidence that, the switchblades were highly popularized in movies and things like that around the Federal Act, but probably. So a lot of people have a lot of fear around these knives, and I don't feel like this is any more lethal than any knife at all, but it's just a different method of deployment. So I live in Missouri. I live in Missouri, okay? And this is legal. This is 100% legal, okay? And in 2012, this type of knife or class of knife, the auto knives, was removed from a prohibited list. I got a lot of this information, just to let you know, so you can look it up yourself, in the American Knife and Tool Institute, okay? I got it off their website. So I felt like that was a good, valid source, and those people have to be updated on things that they're making, because if they're illegal, a lot of people won't buy them. Okay, so that's where I got this. So you can check it out. And for Missouri, for the most part, 4 inches or less is what they're looking for. I mean, if you get pulled over or something and a cop looks at it, I would have something 4 inches or less as far as the blade goes. Okay. But as far as it being an automatic knife, there's no age restrictions in Missouri, nothing like that. So this is totally legal. It's just a pocket knife, just like any of these other knives that I have, right? It's just a different method of deployment. I mean, that's all it is. These are all knives. they're all dangerous, right? All knives are dangerous. This one just happens to be an OTF or automatic, and this $30 knife is an it's an automatic. So this is my only OTF, but they're all knives. It's just the method of deployment. Okay, so I'm not going to beat a dead horse here, but I feel like that's extremely important to get the point across. So, is this illegal in other states in the United States? Yes, 100%. So, some of the states for sure are Washington, Montana, Minnesota, Rhode Island, Pennsylvania, Delaware, Hawaii. Some states, have different rules if you own one versus if you have possession of one in public or things like that. Other states, like I think Michigan, you can't have a double edge. You can only have one like this. Okay, so there's a lot of gray areas, and I would do your homework. Don't get in trouble. Know your laws, especially on where you live. But like in Missouri, if I crossed across the river and went into Illinois, well, in Illinois, from what I understand, according to the website, the AKTI website, it says you have to be 21 years old and have a FOID card, which is the card you need in Illinois to buy a firearm. So that's interesting. But yeah, from Missouri over to Illinois is another country to us. So it's very, very different. In California, I think these are legal if they're 2 inches or less as far as the blade length goes, which is pretty small, right? In Vermont, I think you can have these if they're 3 inches or less. Again, I'm not an attorney. I'm not a legislator. I'm not a police officer. Please do your homework, okay? I'm just trying to help out with what I feel like is a good source of information. And I'm trying to give, I'm trying to learn myself as well. So we're all learning together here. And the funniest one is New York, the state of New York. This is legal if you have a valid hunting and fishing license, right? Because this is a hunting knife. So I would never go deer hunting and gut a deer and get it all nasty and grimy and bloody and retract it into an enclosed handle that the manufacturer doesn't even want you to open it, because then you will void the warranty. So I would never go deer hunting with this, but it's hilarious. So I read that actually on 3 different websites. So if you have a valid hunting and fishing license, I guess you can carry this. So that's awesome. But overall, I'm very impressed with this knife. I'm impressed with the quality of it. Will I get another OTF or automatic knife? Yeah, most definitely. I'm already looking at a Microtech TR3 left-handed. This knife is very ambidextrous for me, which is cool. I really, really like that. I'll carry this for EDC. I'm not going to go camping with it or hunting with it. I'm not going to clean fish with it, or anything like that. But I think it's an awesome knife. I think it's a good part of my collection to make it more well-rounded. And I learned a lot, by doing research on this type of mechanism, which is different between manufacturers. Benchmade has the Infidel and Phaeton, I think, and some other ones. So a little bit different mechanism in there, but they're still OTFs. They're still automatic knives. But I do recommend this knife, and I really, really appreciate you guys watching. So hit subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. I will definitely be doing more knife videos. I can't buy, knives like this all the time, but I am going to be borrowing high-end knives from my brother-in-law. He is a avid collector, and a couple other people. So I have some really good reviews coming up, and I'm going to have some awesome knives coming in. So I really appreciate you guys watching, and I hope you have a great rest of the day. Thanks.